Hi, my name is Andi. I consider myself a chaotic reader and I wanted to do a small experiment. I noticed that especially in the last couple of weeks really, I spent a lot of time on my phone just scrolling through social media without any interest instead of reading the books that I was in the middle of. And it's sort of a vicious cycle. I understand that I turn to social media for those cheap dopamine hits when my brain is tired from work and other things, but scrolling doesn't actually help it. It just keeps my brain in this sort of numb state. This swapping my screen time for books kind of challenge existed on BookTube for a long while now, and I thought to myself on a random Tuesday, okay, now would be the perfect time to try it and try to get out of this brain state. So let's take a look at my screen time and lay down some ground rules. Now, the thing is, I work in marketing and I watch TV series on my phone, so not all of my screen time goes towards aimlessly scrolling, but a significant chunk of it is just that, especially after finishing work or just before going to bed. Based on the last few weeks, I would say my doom scrolling time is somewhere around 2 hours on weekdays, a little bit higher on the weekends, with peak phone usage time after 6 p.m, which makes sense because that's when I finish work. I already have time limits implemented for most social media platforms, including TikTok, for example, but I often just add extra time. Whoops. Okay, so rule number 1, I have to pick up a book after finishing work rather than pick up my phone to scroll. Rule number 2, no phone at least 30 minutes before bedtime, which means I have to do my Duolingo before that, but instead I will spend this time reading a book. That's 2 key time periods already tackled when I'm most tempted to just reach for my phone and scroll aimlessly. I'm keeping it simple, so only adding one more rule, which is about discipline. So I want to consciously catch myself slipping and wanting to reach for my phone out of habit and stop myself and just go and pick up a book instead. Will I be able to do it? Let's find out. I think with these ground rules, I should be able to tackle the challenge. I'm just hoping it will help me read more, or at least help me scroll a little bit less. Today is actually already Saturday, but let's rewind to Tuesday when I started the challenge. I just got home from work, and usually what I do is that I sit on the couch and scroll a bit until it's dinner time. But as the title says, I want to change my habits a little bit, and that means swapping my doom scrolling time to reading time. So that's why we are here right now. I finished Wild Reverence yesterday. Oh my god. 5 out of 5 stars. I have a lot of opinion, I have a lot of notes. Majority of them positive, I will talk about it. But the fact that I finished this book means that I can now start a new book. If you look at my little TBR shelf behind me, and I don't know how to position a camera in a way that both of us are in the frame, I acquired a couple new books ever since I talked about it. Like the second part in Richard Osman's The Thursday Murder Club series, which is The Man Who Died Twice. This I'm going to read together with my husband, that's already a given. But besides this one, I need to pick my next read. I am also reading The Other Girl, which is a non-fiction memoir from a French author. I'm reading this actually in Hungarian. It is very short, just about 60 pages or so, or at least the Hungarian translation is just 60 pages. And I'm gonna keep this as my commuting book, like a book to read on the commute, simply because it's easy to take it with me when I go to work. So there is this one, which I'm currently reading, which means I have a non-fiction memoir for commute. I'm gonna read, like I said, a cozy mystery together with my husband. I just threw that book on the couch. Which leaves me with one more book to read it has to be fantasy. I don't make the rules. I mean, if we look on the shelf, most of it is fantasy, so it just makes sense to choose a fantasy book to read with this little challenge. The thing is, I honestly would gravitate towards Starling House by Alix Harrow, simply because I read previous works from this author and they always impressed me. The level of word building and the level of twists in the story that they were able to put in there. So I have high hopes. Supposedly this is gothic fantasy. Supposedly there is a house, it's called Starling House. That's kind of spooky, kind of alive, uncanny and full of secrets. So I feel like this is gonna be the perfect pick for this challenge. Let's get reading. What are you doing? It is now Friday, 6 p.m. I have been reading Wuthering Heights as well, which I haven't mentioned so far. I started it more than 2 weeks ago by now, I think. And I had around 100 pages left of it. Now I have around 60 pages. I'm on chapter 26, so I plan to finish it this weekend. And I've also been reading Starling House that I showed you on Tuesday. I'm at chapter 5, and so far I really like it. I cannot say I truly expected the tone of voice or the type of storytelling, because it is first person point of view. We follow our main character Opal, but then we have these footnotes within the book. I don't know if I can show you, like for example here, that talk about Opal in like third person point of view. That's a little bit strange. Like, I'm not sure what's gonna happen, but it kind of feels like we have two narrators, the first person point of view, the main character, and then we get like crumbs of information in the footnotes, and it's making it feel a lot more eerie, I have to say. So this is Starling House by Alix Harrow. Like I mentioned, I read from this author before. I read The Sixth Death of the Saint and The 1000 Doors of January. So this is my third book. And I was telling this to my husband because I feel like whenever I read authors, there are authors who have a very distinct style. And there are authors where I feel like every book is very different in the best possible way. And I feel like Alix Harrow is an author like that. I wouldn't have been able to tell by the tone of voice alone that she wrote 1000 Doors of January and The Sixth Death of the Saint. And honestly, it's refreshing. I feel like every time I pick up one of her books, it's something new and something fresh. Definitely an ideal read for the autumn time. But the fact that I wanted to chat with you a little bit is because I was thinking a bit, now that I'm doing this sort of challenge and trying to swap my doom scrolling time to reading time. And I have to say, Tuesday I was very ambitious and started out well. Wednesday was a little bit so-so, like as you have seen from the footage. Thursday was really not good simply because I had a very busy day at work and then I didn't really feel like reading. But then I also didn't scroll because I ended up playing some farming video games, which did a good job of like helping me unwind from the day and helping me relax. And now it is Friday, and I was thinking that the fact that I turned to social media or doom scrolling is also because my brain perceives it to be very simple. Like I can just pick up my phone, open an app, and it's immediately there, and all I have to do is like swipe up and down to consume the content. And the fact that I don't do the same thing with reading is somehow a little bit connected to BookTube. So I also consume a lot of BookTube content, a lot of reading vlogs, a lot of reading wrap-ups, a lot of reading challenges. And somehow, because it's on YouTube, people film their reading habits in a very idealistic way and a very aesthetic way. And therefore, sometimes my brain goes like, oh, I cannot just like pick up a book and start reading. I have to do like the whole, I don't want to say performance of reading, but the whole like package. Let me explain. So for example, in my mind, I cannot just sit on the couch and read my book. I have to like put on, this I don't have to do, and honestly I don't do it that often, but today I felt like it. Put on a aesthetic fireplace crackling background video on the TV, or like make myself a nice cup of tea, cut myself some fruit as a snack. And somehow in my brain, because it's not just like reading is not only about reading anymore. Reading is about preparing to read, preparing the drink, preparing the snack, making sure that the ambiance is right. That prevents me from reading itself. But I hope that by admitting it and by realizing it myself, I can somehow dispel the notions that you need any of this in order to read. No. In order to read, all you need is a book and something to sit on. This is kind of like BookTube's illusion of what everyday reading looks like, but it's not like this every day. Like even the simple fact, today is Friday and therefore I had the time to really sink into the feeling of reading. But every day it doesn't look like this for me. And that's not to say that it's wrong to do all of this in order to make yourself cozy, because then it's part of your habit, it's part of what makes you happy and what makes reading enjoyable for you. I'm just saying this shouldn't be something that stops you from the actual action of reading. So that was my realization. I was sitting there doing all of the preparation and honestly enjoying myself reading. Like it's cozy, I'm having fun. But I wanted to share this little revelation to you. And on the other hand, I'm also trying to do the opposite of it. So for example, if I think in order to swap out my doom scrolling habit to reading, I need to make reading easier for my brain. But on the other hand, I need to make scrolling harder. So a very easy trick that I have been employing in the last couple of days is leaving my phone away from where I am. Other room, end of the couch, end of the kitchen counter, so I also don't get the impulse to pick it up. Or even if I get the impulse, it's like I put a hurdle in front of myself, and therefore my brain is not tempted to do it. So far it's working. Let's see how it goes. I yapped enough. Let's go back to reading Wuthering Heights. Hopefully I will be done by today. And I have some plans tomorrow to go shopping and maybe also visit a bookstore and also continue reading Starling House. I swear to God, the lighting conditions in this video are just getting worse and worse. I apologize. Hello, this is now the following Friday. I have been doing the challenge for around 11 days at this point, so time to wrap it up with the learnings. What worked for me is definitely keeping my phone away from me. Even if I got the temptation to scroll, I couldn't just grab my phone, and that somehow tricked my brain into focusing on other things. Second, reading multiple books at the same time. I am, as you know, a huge mood reader, and usually I read 2 books at the same time, which works fine as long as they are different genres. This time at one point I was up to 3 books, reading Starling House as a gothic fantasy pick, The Man Who Died Twice as a cozy murder mystery, and The Other Girl as my short non-fiction read for my work commute. And this ensured that when I felt like reading, I had some options to choose from, and that variety kept supplying novelty to my brain instead of turning to doom scrolling for those cheap dopamine hits. Being completely honest, doing this challenge didn't just magically fix my phone habits, but it made me more conscious of them, and with the ground rules I laid down at the beginning, I feel like I made some good progress. Swapping my doom scrolling time for books right after work and just before bedtime gave me a much steadier reading rhythm. I can insert my daily reading chart from November from Storygraph and how it developed since I started the challenge. Pretty steady, except that first Thursday. I aim to stick to these rules and implement them long term into my habits as well, which will hopefully help me actually get to the books that I want to read instead of wasting on time on social media. Talking about books I want to read, I think for my next video I will either do an autumn reading wrap-up or the year's kind of last book haul about the new reads that you may or may not have seen on my TBR shelf that I acquired in the last 2 months. Let me know which one you would like to see next. See you in my next video. Until then, take care. Bye!